Joe, lower your hand! Teddy!
Some sort of beast has entered our abode.
Gotta knock these bozos' wieners off.
I swear it's not as bad as the name sounds. Or that look.
I bet he deserved it.
From the Great North to Wonder Wharf. All right.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh,
Can you
okay.
hear me?
I can. I was worried there because I was setting everything up, and then I was talking, and I wasn't getting a response. I was like, oh no, not now. How are you?
Good. Excited to be here.
Excited to have you here. Usually I have a co-host. He has some technical issues at the moment, so he's working those out. But yeah, let's see. Just stream is going live now. We'll just give everybody a couple minutes to file in, and
All right.
we'll kick off. But I'm a little bummed because I was hoping it was going to come in the mail today, but it's still a couple days away. But I was able to snag your last Weird Al pin.
Oh,
And
awesome.
I was like, that's so cool. And I was hoping it'd get here, but unfortunately not in time. Hopefully it'll get here before I go to Seattle because that thing's dope and I was hoping to wear it. So.
Oh, awesome. Is it time for Emerald City Comic Con already?
I don't know. Is it?
No. I don't think so. I think I'm wrong.
I don't know. I don't think they would go up against New York City Comic Con, which is happening next week as well, I believe. So
Yes.
I don't think they would. But you know, I don't know. Hey, Homer fan. Hello. All right. Well, let's see. JB will get here when he gets here. All right. We'll just go ahead and start, and he'll get here when he gets here. Hey, Norta Wharfers, welcome to a brand new episode of From the Great North to Wonder Wharf, your one-stop destination for bento box information. As always, I am Mike. JB is out there somewhere in the ones and zeros of the internet. He will be here shortly. And of course, joining us tonight from Crapopolis is art director Miranda Dressler. Miranda, thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited to be part of the show.
Oh, don't get too excited. Let's see. We'll see how you feel by the end of the night.
I got all my swag.
Nice. From Toddland, right?
That's right.
Nice. Yeah, good friends with Todd. You're friends with Todd.
Yeah, we both were at Paul Frank, but we were there at separate times. So we were like ships that passed in the night. But yeah, we worked together. We worked together a little bit to make some Bob's merch before I started working with him again for this.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I saw when he had posted on his Twitter. It's like I'm paraphrasing, but like nice to see my friends and good people being able to do what they love or something along those lines. And it was your name.
Yeah, that was so sweet of him. He put my credit up on his Twitter, and I was like, "Oh, Todd, so nice."
Yeah, no, that dude's a sweetheart. Let's see, JB, are you here? JB, he's either the world's best mime or his internet is back down.
Boo.
JB, are you here? Talk to me, JB. I'm going to let you figure that out, buddy. All right, so obviously we are here for the brand new episode of Crapopolis, our episode 3, season 1. Of course, we had episodes 1 and 2 about a week ago at this point. And then, of course, the new episodes of Bob's, which we'll get on down the road here. But first, we want to talk about Crapopolis, of course. My vote is for the world's best mime. Oh, thank you, Abby. So give us a brief rundown on your history with the show. How did you become involved with the show? Was it from the very beginning, which at this point was a couple of years ago? Because we had heard about Crapopolis a while ago. We heard it was coming from Dan Harmon, who, of course, we know from Community, Rick and Morty, stuff like that. When did you come on board?
I came on like at the very beginning. I came on in like June of 2021. And it was basically like Dan had been there and had been writing, and then Pete Michaels, our supervising director, had joined, and Andy Restaino, our lead character designer, was there. And they were kind of like, so there's this idea. We have this idea for the show that's set in ancient Greece, and we want to make it look like nothing else that is on Fox. And I had worked at Cartoon Network for years, and I had never worked with Andy. Like, he was on Adventure Time, and I had been on like Over the Garden Wall and
Yes.
the Powerpuff Girls reboot and some other shows. And so I was like, oh, awesome. Like, I would love to bring some of that like aesthetic to Fox primetime of like, if you look at our show, it has like a lot of textures, a lot of bright colors, and it looks like really like, I guess like, we just wanted it to look different because we wanted to say like, this is not modern times. This is an ancient world. So I came on at the very beginning, and then we hired just a bunch of really super talented people to like basically create a culture and a world from nothing. And we thought we were going to premiere last Thanksgiving.
Okay.
But then they were like, we want to have more episodes so we can like keep an audience, like so we can show more episodes at once. So it was like, we basically had season 1 done for a while. We've just been like waiting to share it with the world, which is why I'm like psyched to talk to you guys. It's out there. Like when you work in animation, you're just like working in silence, like in your bubble, and you're like, oh,
Right.
like, I want the world to see it. So.
And at this point, you guys are you in production on season 3, or are you finishing up season 2 at this point?
We're kind of doing both. Like we're in post on season 2, and then most of our artists are on hiatus, but we're like gearing up for season 3, which will basically start like at the end of this month. Like they're writing.
Oh, okay, I was like, wow, we got to get through season 1 first. But okay, no, I get it. Now, obviously, having Dan Harmon there and being a bento box property, the immediate assumption is, oh, it's going to look like Rick and Morty, or it's going to look like Bob's Burgers, the two tent poles of both of those parties. Was there a conscious effort to say, no, we're not looking like any of those, or just the artist's natural talent said, this is what it is, this is what it turned out to be, and we didn't need the direction?
Yeah, I think like from the beginning, we were like, we don't want this to look like anything else. And I actually worked on Bob's for a while, and I love like the look of Bob's, and I love that like the characters don't look like other primetime animated shows. Like I love that no one has teeth, and that like there's
You're right.
There's like a whole other design language. And like I'm also like talking about Bob's, like I'm from New Jersey and Philadelphia, so like I feel like that's where the Belchers live. Like I love that vibe. But yeah, we were basically like, we want people to know like, oh, we're watching something totally new. And I think it was like we hired a lot of people. We hired people that had worked on Rick and Morty, but more just for like crazy art skills of like, oh, if you could survive both the design aesthetic and the schedule on Rick and Morty, like you could work on our show, you could survive. And then we hired a lot of people from Cartoon Network that sort of brought more like kind of like an indie comics vibe to things. Yeah, so
now I will say kudos to everyone involved, because you not sidestep, but you definitely didn't fall into the trap of like, oh, this looks like Rick and Morty, or oh, this looks like Bob's. The humors aren't the same, the art isn't the same. This stands on its own. And had you not known it was Rick Harmon and Bento, you're like, oh yeah, no, I get it. We're good. So kudos to everybody involved, yourself included.
Yeah, it's like more like as the art director, I was way more involved in the beginning, and then it was just like I always like to say like I like to hire people that can draw better than I can, that can draft layouts better than I can, that can paint stuff better than I can. And so then I just get to be like, okay, like here's the idea. Now like you take it to 11 and make it really beautiful. So like
that's how I am, except I'm even less talented. I'm like, I have an idea, you all execute it, because I cannot for the life of me. So
yes, I know, it's all like teamwork, making the dream work.
All right, everybody. JB says he's good to go, so I'm going to bring him on here. Fingers crossed, everybody. JB. 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 JB.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah. Hey, Miranda. Sorry
JB,
about that.
Miranda, JB.
Hi.
She's from Crapopolis, by the way, JB. I figured I'd catch you up.
I've also been following your pins for a while. I love the X-Files one, and the Overguard in the Wall one is really good too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I love making things I like for fellow nerds and lovers of weird stuff.
I like to hear that.
I was telling her earlier, JB, I picked up her final Weird Owl pin.
Oh, very cool.
It's stuck in transit at the moment, but I'm stoked for that. So yeah, we were just talking about how Miranda came on to Crapopolis at the very beginning there. Apparently, they were ready to go last Thanksgiving, which is news to us. And they're ending season 2 and beginning production of season 3 here shortly.
Nice. Very cool.
So we've been fortunate enough to see now the first 3 episodes of Crapopolis, which is very good. I've enjoyed it. JB's enjoyed it. We've enjoyed it very much. JB has also been privileged to see episode 9.
Yes.
For some reason, they showed episodes 1 and 9 at Comic-Con, which is why not 1 and 2?
Probably not to
I don't
give
make the
anything
decisions.
away.
Oh, that's cool. You got into that packed screening. I saw pictures from that. I wasn't there.
I
but
did.
saw
They
pictures.
scooted us in. We were with Brooke Kiesling, so she like helped us sneak in with everybody else.
Nice.
Now,
Yeah, episode 9 is awesome for those of you out there in the world. It has Steve Buscemi as the voice of Hephaestus, god of crafting.
ooh, Steve Buscemi. I'm a big Steve Buscemi fan.
Same.
So we've seen episodes 1, 2, and 3. Episode 1 had a big old battle scene in it. Very bloody, a lot of big old body count in it, which is really wild for a first episode of a series. Were you given any direction? Yeah, just laying the foundation. Were you given any direction and say, hey, we need to go hard on episode 1, or were you even told, hey, scale it back a little in episode 1?
Like episode one of any show is hard because you have to tell the audience so much. You have to be like, here are these people, this is the world, this is the rules of the world, and this is what everyone stands for. And in that episode, so it's like, yeah, like we have to introduce, like, here's the family, here's the main dynamic between Ty, and voiced by Richard Ayoade, and Deliria, his mom, who's a goddess, voiced by Hannah Waddingham, and
Who
then
herself is a goddess.
she like just slays every line. She's awesome. And then we have to show like the conflict of there's like this opposing army and there's this huge battle. Plus we have to set up like the city, and originally like the city was already built and it like existed and there was no timeline. It was like maybe the city's been here for decades, and then they changed it and they were like, oh, we want to show that like the city was just built in episode 1. So we had to go back and like redesign everything under construction, and the design
scale it down a bit.
Yeah, like totally nerding out on like ancient construction techniques and things like that. So I mean, episode 1, you have to go big because you're trying to get people interested. But I think because they're trying to do so much and there's a ton of jokes, I feel like it's harder to like get attached to the characters. So like from episode 2 on, it's like, oh, now like we can just have fun beat stories and we can be like, what's the dynamics here?
There was definitely that distinct feeling of like you're saying, episode 1, you're laying the groundwork. You can't do too much in it, or you can't do too little in it either. But in episode 2, it did kind of like, okay, it's an upward trajectory, and now we're getting stuff. And you had actually mentioned having fun with the architecture. How much real world studying of that architecture did you do that you then brought over to like the animation? Because anybody can draw a character, anybody can do that, but were you trying to go like period specific with the architecture or loosey goosey with it?
What's cool about Crapopolis is like I feel like we all studied like ancient Greece in school, and like everyone's like, oh, this was cool, I remember learning about this. But when you look at ancient Greece, it's always like the Parthenon and like later ancient Greece, and we're doing like they're barely out of the Stone Age. It's Bronze Age ancient Greece. So like so like when I bought like art books and reference books about ancient Greece, it would be like the tiniest chapter at the beginning, which is like the Mycenaean period, where it all began. Now let's look at all the stuff that we know. So it was kind of like there was a little bit of reference, but we could play around with it more. And so it's sort of like it became its own culture. It became its own kind of architecture. But like for history nerds, we looked at like there's a palace on Knossos in Crete that was like really well preserved ruins. So we had like examples of what the colors on the walls looked like and like frescoes and paintings. So we brought in some history, but at the same time, like it's a fantasy world. We weren't trying to be like totally historically accurate.
Were you excited when you realized, oh, this is ancient Greece and we have so much to play with here as far as like gods and stories and all that mix in with the story you're trying to tell.
Yeah, like, it's really cool, like, when you see all the gods, like, the gods can change their forms and present themselves however they want, but what's cool is, like, if you watched the episode that was on last night, it's on Hulu
Mhm.
right now,
Mhm.
if you
No,
watch
we
that,
will get into it for sure.
you'll see
Oh yeah.
Poseidon, and he's, like, a bald, fat football dad, and it's like,
Oh,
if you
totally.
could choose whatever physical form, like, why'd you pick this Poseidon? But I love it because it's, like, it's just a hilarious character design.
One gripe I did have, not a gripe, this is just me being me. We got introduced to Poseidon in episode 2.
Yeah.
Nowhere to be seen in episode 3. We got all Poseidon, we got Poseidon's daughter, but no Poseidon at all. And I was like,
I feel like it helped though. Like Poseidon was just like exactly what I would think after meeting Poseidon. Like he
Yeah.
was just like the outcasted like bro, just like I'm not a god, but I got a story to tell, but nobody cares about me. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense after meeting your brother.
I think he's Poseidon's nephew, and he will
nephew?
definitely
Okay.
be back. He's like
Okay.
voiced by Dave Franco, and he's like he comes back. He basically comes back like a character to just beat up on and
Oh,
just see him.
that's another thing. We have noticed that the aside from the main cast, there's been some heavy names there. David Diggs was
Oh,
in
yeah.
this last episode. You had mentioned Steve Buscemi, of course. When you're making these characters, do you know who's going to be voicing them and kind of tailor the character to them, like appearance wise, or do you just draw the character and whoever's doing is doing it?
It's definitely like a back and forth process because we start storyboarding this way before anyone is
Right.
cast.
Yeah.
And sometimes they'll have someone in mind. They'll be like, "Oh, we want to go out to this person. Can you sort of make the character look like them?" But we never want to make the characters look exactly like them because then it gets all into like the celebrities have to approve their
Oh
likeness. So it's
yeah.
never like a
Yeah.
likeness. But sometimes we're like, "Oh, well, if we know, like then it's like body type or skin tone or things like that." But for the most part, like we come up with something and then sometimes casting they'll be like, "Oh, we thought we were getting this person, but we're getting this one," and then we have to redesign. So there's a lot of like flexibility. And I keep saying, I want to do an art book so the world can see like all of these sketches and things that never make it to air.
Well, it was 3. Oh well, no, you're into season 3
Mhm.
now. Yeah, you guys can do an art book at this point of all the stuff we haven't seen.
No.
We actually had Peter Paul on, and it's hard to. I love Peter. We love Peter. Peter's great.
Yes, we
It's-
do.
It's hard to interview him when the shows haven't aired yet, and he can't really talk about anything.
Yeah.
And then when he does mention something, it's like, well, that hasn't happened yet. We gotta don't stop it. But now that the episodes are out, and we had posted something on Instagram, and you shot us a message saying, "Hey, the next episode coming up, I absolutely love. If you guys ever want to talk about it, I'm game." We've loved the first 2 episodes. The third episode is great as
Yeah.
well. Why this one?
This was actually when we were set up, we were supposed to have a standalone like sneak peek last year. And so the
Mhm.
episode that just aired, Wife Swamp, that was supposed to be the sneak peek. And so it was kind of
Oh.
set up as like the audience could join this without really knowing who anyone was because there was enough dialogue and stuff to sort of set everybody up.
Mhm.
But I'm like, oh, I'm glad that that came out the second weekend because last night we were in like the actual lineup where it was like Simpsons, Crapopolis, Bob's Burgers, like they're nestled right in with all the
Yes.
like animation domination like superstars. So I was like, oh, like if people missed the thing last week where it was like our special standalone premiere, this
Mhm.
is again like this is a good episode for an audience to start with because I think it's like I just think it's really funny and I think
Yeah.
that like we're starting to like see the characters come across. Like I've been, even though you're not supposed to, I've been like lurking on Reddit and reading what people are saying. And like
No.
it's so bad at first. We're like, this show sucks. And it's like, hey, just give us a chance. We've only shown you episode 3, but we have so much like crazy stuff.
They said that
I
they
feel like
said the
if you're
same
working
thing.
on a show, jumping on Reddit, it's almost just like, hey, you should be nice to them. Like they're working really hard. Like I know someone who's super cool and they love the show.
It's
Yeah.
weird
But we love
because
it. I think it's a great show.
you see a show like Bob's Burgers. We're going into season 14 last night. the first 2 seasons, everybody was ragging on that, and then there was like, this show sucks,
Oh, yeah.
cannibals, I don't get it, blah blah blah. And they're on season 14 now, and everybody loves it. So, I mean, give it some time, everybody. The show's good. Just stop. It's unfortunate because shows like not Crapopolis just yet, but like The Great North. It's a bento box property. You have the Molyneux sisters who are on it. So immediately, oh, Bob's Burgers, I know it. And it falls under, like, it can't do its own thing and become its own thing because it's in the shadow of Bob's. I don't think Crapopolis has that problem because, again, the art style is so different. The humor is so different. It just happens to be from bento as well. So it's only 3 episodes, folks. Give it time.
Please come join our crazy world. There's so much weirdness. And yeah, it's like I worked on Bob's between like seasons like 9 and 10, and it was like, wow, this is so cool. Like it's like a well-oiled machine of like people have been on this since the beginning. Everyone just loves it. You know who it is. And like The Simpsons, like you can reach into the background and grab a character and be like, we're gonna spotlight this character and show you their life story. And so we'll get there on but for now it's very much like it's early days, so it's like, what's the dynamic of the family? Like, who are these people? What are the rules of the world? There's magic, there's monsters, there's craziness.
I think that's what gets lost on folks is in a world, and not to sound, oh, get off my porch, but in a world where everybody wants everything right away, they don't understand that you have to build a world first before you can start caring about it. So that's what you all are doing. I think you're doing a bang-up job. We both
we didn't fall in love with Walter White just because. It took seasons to get there. And then it got to the point where we couldn't stop watching it. I think everyone, as you said, Mike, just need to give it a little bit of time. Let it develop a little bit. Let them introduce characters, learn their motives and what they're trying to do, and then let it happen.
As a Walter White fan, I was on board from the very beginning. He didn't like his students. Of course you were. He was a teacher who wasn't appreciated, and he turned to drugs. And I was like, I'm on board. Let's do this. Not to dive into Bob's Burgers because we're here spotlighting Crapopolis, but what was your role on Bob's Burgers?
My role was actually, I didn't work on the show or anything you saw on air, but I worked on promos and merch, basically like all the fun stuff. Like my office faced the coffee machine, so people would be like, what are you doing? Like people would see what I was doing. Like, is that for us? Is that a crew gift? Is that a special promotion? But like, yeah, if you know Mikey Macasero, I worked with him.
Oh, Mikey.
Yeah, he's the best. And we got to do all the fun stuff. Like we designed gifts for the crew, but also like I did like special t-shirts for box lunch, and I did like those Feeding America window displays they do every year. I did a couple of those. Very cool. And then one of the coolest things I did was I did the posters and the billboards and the bus stops for the Bob's Burgers movie. So
very cool.
And that's what's so cool about, like, again, like in animation, you're just like, you're working in a bubble. You can't show people till it comes out. But then I'm like driving through Burbank and I see like the poster on a bus stop and I like almost get rear-ended because I have to pull over and take a picture of it, which is so rad.
Yeah, JB, we were talking before you got here. Obviously, she's friends with Todd from back in the day, and they worked on Bob's merchandise. So, and they worked with Paul Frank. Am I correct?
Yeah, he always talks about that. Yeah, I'm wearing the crew shirt from this year of the Wheelie.
Nice, the Wheelie Mammoth. So awesome.
I get asked all the time, where'd you get that shirt? And I'm like, you have to work the booth. You don't get it otherwise. And everyone gets jealous, so it's nice.
So to not give any spoilers, we'll stick within the first 3 episodes of Crapopolis here. Do you have a moment so far that has, like, whenever you recommend to somebody, is like, this is the joke you got to see, this is the funny bit, this is what I'm most proud of?
I mean, I love like everything that we've done because again, it was like, let's create like a world from nothing. Like what is like what do the people in town wear? Like we had to create like over like 120 just like background people.
Oh God, just for the battle alone, all those different assets.
Yeah.
All the soldiers.
Well, that and even the second one with the Coliseum, like all of the spectators.
Yeah, there's like so many cool character designs, and so many people are dying and like getting like cut in half and decapitated. It's like we're never gonna see that guy again.
We were told by, again, Peter, that there's an even bigger battle coming up later in the season. And he had dropped the word orgy, which apparently there's a whole nother scene where that all had to be done up to. Not to get into any specifics, of course.
There's a lot of crowds on this show. Like, bless the animators that had to animate all these crazy ass crowds. There's some really cool stuff coming up, and like, let's see, like if we're just talking about these first 3 episodes that y'all could go on Hulu.
I will say this: we are streaming live, so you can say whatever you feel comfortable saying.
Yes.
Yeah, this isn't being recorded. Well, I'll give props to the first 3 episodes because I would love people to like go on Hulu and watch them.
Of course.
We were like in the Hulu top 10 streamed things last week, and I'm like, let's get to top 5. Come on, bring it. But
we could do that. Get on the Reddit forums, just being like, you gotta give it a shot.
But the episode that just aired, the Wife Swamp episode, the B story is like Stupendous, who's like this big buff like warrior character, and Hippocampus, who's like this scientist fish guy. They conspire to fight a war against wolves.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
like I have a dog, and since
So
like
we have 2.
from the pandemic, like this dog like pushes me around, like she bosses me around. She's like, it's time for my food, like I've decided. And like so like at like the end of the episode where they're like talking about making a bargain with the wolves, I'm like, I feel this in my soul because they're like,
the terms.
Yeah, like
they
the
said that like
wolves
we have to take them outside and let them go to the bathroom wherever they want, and we have to say good boy every time, no matter what. We
Only for them to bring the puppies out and like go back in there and agree to all the terms. Stop being a jerk.
Yeah, like look at the puppy.
And then it zooms in on the wolf at the end. So it's like our beginning to domination.
Yeah, but the age of canine supremacy
Begin. My wife thought that whole plot line was incredible. She's like, "What's the whole point of this?" And I was like, "I think it's domesticating dogs." And then it got to the point where she's like, or did they domesticate us?
Oh, they domesticated us.
Exactly.
Yeah. And whenever I'm laying in bed, our dog sleeps with us. And my alarm goes off at 6. But she's found a way to realize when it's 5:55. And she'll start to do her low crawl over my face and disconnect my CPAP. And then now I got to get up and feed her because she can't wait 5 minutes. And now I'm the bad guy, so I get it.
Yeah, you don't get to sleep in with a dog. You're getting up at the same time, no matter if it's a weekend or a weekday.
It really doesn't matter, and it's irritating. But I love her. There is one scene in particular where it is, and I'm terrible with character names, Hannah's character, the mom, the goddess.
It's Deliria.
Deliria. She's with her bard, is that what it's called, the guitar player?
Yeah.
And they're having the back and forth, and at the end she turns his guitar into or lute or whatever it's called into spiders. And he's covered in spiders and he's freaking out, but he's also trying to like apologize to her for something he didn't or might have done. And it's just a whole back and forth of like how it's like, I'm sorry, please don't punish me, I worship you, but covered in spiders, do you want me to kill him, do you want me to stand still? I thought it was a great joke, and I thought it was perfect.
Yeah, that's
it was
like
well
good
done.
Timing of just like lingering in the discomfort, and he's like dancing and covered in spiders.
Yeah, her dominance has begun. My 2 are being very good right now. They're good boys. But another part that me and Mike had also talked about loving was the first episode with that big battle. And the whole part where it's just like they're crying and sobbing and they're killing each other and they're just like, please stop hurting my men. It's like, I wish I could, but I just can't. And we're just like, there's just little bits that are so good.
Yeah, the barbarian king who's voiced by Keith David. He's like, stop hitting
so
everyone.
good.
She's like, I have to.
Oh, love Keith David. I'm so glad you guys got
We
him
were
on the show.
so excited when he came on.
He will definitely be back.
Ooh, nice. The only person, and I will say this for every show because I need him on every show, is Andrew Rannells. He's been on Bob's. He's been on Central Park. I think he's coming to the Great North. And I need you to shoehorn him into Crapopolis, and I'll be a happy boy. That's all I ask of you.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good voices. Tell the Fox casting department to get on it.
Can you, other than Steve Buscemi, are there any other actors you'd feel comfortable teasing?
Yeah, like next week's episode is another one of my favorites. It's
Are we? Is that a running theme for you? Are we going to hear this is now my favorite episode?
Many of these are my favorites, but I really feel like this last one that was on last night, and then the one that's coming on Sunday, like those are both just like they're so funny, and I hope that like people see the show finding its voice. Like next week, we're gonna meet Prometheus, like the guy that stole fire from the gods,
Yes,
and was forever punished, and he's voiced by Ben Stiller, and he's just like such a jerk. It's like a don't meet your heroes.
Oh, no. Wait, who is?
Can't wait.
Is it who's meeting him that's going to be disappointed? Like what? Can you tell what his storyline is or what the plot?
I will say, yeah, Tyrannus and Hippo are gonna go meet Prometheus, and nonsense will unfold.
I would expect like Hippo's all about the like science part of like you brought us this, you brought us fire, it was amazing, and then like Tyrannus probably wants to talk about the wisdom and all the power and all that, and it'll be nice. I mean, I like Hippo. I can't wait for more of him, especially episode 2 where Schlub thought he was a murderer.
I love that. Like Schlub is just so supportive. He's like, this murderer seems like a nice boy.
Just misunderstood.
Yeah, at this point, episode 2. I mean, it's hard to say because we only had 3 episodes, but I absolutely loved episode 2. I believe JB was the same. Episode 2, fantastic. Matt Berry, love him to death, but he's how do I put this? Love him to death. Love Matt Berry to death. His character in Crapopolis seems to be very much in the same ballpark as his character in What We Do in the Shadows. Is that a conscious thing? Yeah, Laszlo.
I feel like someone was like, that's who we want. That should be the voice. And they were just like, be yourself, Matt Berry. Just be yourself. It's perfect, though.
And the first thing he went to was
that's
sexual.
what he's like just as himself, because that's what I've pictured him being like. From IT crowd to like everything. So I'm like, if that's really what he's like all the time, that's amazing. I envy him just to be able to say whatever you want.
And it's perfect because like Schlub is like, you know, he's like the animal. Like he's like the id. It's like he's just about like food and sex and whatever he wants in this moment. And it's perfect for like he's also like crushing every line. Because again, like a lot of the times I see these things as animatics with Scratch. And so like the editor or the like EP is doing the scratch, and then when I finally see the final picture, I'm like, oh right, yeah, that's what Schlub sounds like. It's even better.
So you had mentioned that you all had episode 1 wrapped last Thanksgiving. Was that the first time seeing the completed episode, or had you seen it before then?
Like I see like when we first get animation, it's called take 1, so that's like when it comes in from the overseas animation studio, and there's a lot of things that we want to fix, and then there's also like there's still edits going on at that point. Like they're changing dialogue, they're cutting scenes, they're making things
like
tighter.
tightening it all up.
Yeah, so like Dan Harmon does a lot of punching up to make it better, but some of that happens at the animation stage. So even though I'll see like color picture to give notes as the art director, when I see it again like on TV with like the music and the sound effects and everything, it's like, oh right, like this is a complete awesome show, and it feels way more like finished. Like I love that title sequence too. Like props to the title sequence.
And that's a good follow-up to my next question is or my follow. What was it like seeing the final product? Because like you all have been working on it for a while. They had the pandemic, people working from home.
It's a lot
tough
of
time
work
for everybody. And you've seen it from its infancy till its final product. What was it like to see that final product all together, out there for the world to see, and hoping for the best?
It's just like the best feeling because like you were saying like the pandemic, this show started in 2021. We never had an office. Like some of our crew is in Atlanta, we got crew in like Andy, our character designer, is in Massachusetts. Like everyone is everywhere, and so I only see people on Zoom. And so like when I saw like the final like thing airing, I was like, oh, like here it is, like we can all watch it from wherever we are and see it together. It's like I feel like that's like the magic of animation. It's like it's art, but it's also like breathing life into something that is just drawings on paper and like bringing it to reality. It's so cool. It's like the best feeling of all.
And so many people said even with the movie, it's like when you do your bit and then you like turn it in, you're kind of done with it. But then when it's there and you see it, you're just like, I did that. It's all part of the big thing. And like everyone there is just like, I did that part, I did that part. And like it becomes this universal thing that without that part, you wouldn't have this cool thing. So it's like everyone's work is really important. It's just a neat experience.
It's the best. Like, I love working in animation for that reason, because I can watch an episode and be like, oh, Andrew drew that background, and Daniel painted that background, and there's Andy's character getting sawed in half on the battlefield.
So seeing the episodes from its very beginning to now, and you're constantly working on other episodes, by the time episode 1 was released 2 weeks ago at this point, was it fresh for you, or did you still remember everything, or was like, oh yeah, I forgot all about this?
What's funny is like I feel like I've watched episode 1 like 100 times, like throughout, like from it being a storyboard to an animatic to animation to give notes, and it's like I've watched it so many times. I would be like, I can't tell what this even is. It's like when you look at a word for a long time and you're like, that word looks so weird. It's like that. It's like I've looked at it for so long, but I don't have cable, so I went to my family's house to watch it, and they had people over, so there was like a big group of people watching it, and everyone's
watch party.
at the jokes and like things are hitting, and then when the commercial comes up, they want to talk about it. I'm like, oh, awesome! Like it's a real show. Like it's working.
At that point, are you sitting in the corner taking notes, just people watching, or are you actually enjoying the show too?
I am like enjoying it like as a spectator, which is awesome too, because I'm like again like I never watch it with like what we call the mix, which is like all the sound effects and the music and everything. So I don't see it like that until it's on air, and I'm like, wow, like having all those like impacts and sword clanging and dramatic music, like it makes a big difference.
I mean, it was a huge hit at Comic-Con too. Mega. Like there was so much clapping and so much laughter. It was cool to see something brand new be met with like already like a huge amount of following and just praise. It was just a very interesting experience.
That's so cool. Yeah, like our supervising director Pete was there, and he said the same thing. He's like, well, we showed episode 1 and I'd seen it so many times, but then people were really laughing, like the whole room was laughing, and I was like, yes.
I had to save Pete's seat. He was sitting next to us, so I had to put my bag down and be like, Pete's sitting here, and just keep telling people, move on. Pete's
this is
here.
The VIP area.
The P is
you need to see your way out.
Yeah, seats taken. So
literally,
one of the biggest things we've heard about Crapopolis, and this might be too in the weeds, and it may be not something you can speak on. Maybe you can. One thing we've always heard about Crapopolis from day one is this thing's on the blockchain. What the hell does that mean?
Well, it's weird because like when I interviewed for this job, they told me that, and I was like, are you gonna pay me in Bitcoin, or are you gonna pay me in, like cold hard American dollars? That's what I'm here for. It was a cool idea. Like there are NFTs out there. They're called crap tickets. They look like tickets with different like character assets from the show, and I got to like help pick and approve those designs, so that was cool because like there's stuff in there from like very late in the season that you won't see yet, but it's like on the chickens now. So like if you look at the chickens, you're like, what is that cloak, or like what is that crazy background? Like all the stuff that's on the chickens will be in the show. But it was like basically it was an idea to make like if people purchase these NFTs, then they would basically have like a super fan pass to online behind the scenes stuff. So it does exist for people that were into NFTs. I just feel like it's very inaccessible because like again, you can't just buy them with American dollars. You have to buy Bitcoin through these weird third-party websites that I don't understand. But it was cool because like we did some like deep dive like interviews talking about how do we come up with, for example, like what does Hades look like? Because we're gonna go to Hades, and like I got to like nerd out about that stuff. So like for animation nerds, it exists out there. And I think if you go to crapopolis.com, there's like some like little sneak peeks. Like there's some early animatics and stuff. that people can watch. But the idea was basically like it would be like a behind the scenes pass. And I'm not sure because of like the state of NFTs, like what's going on with it now. But like we did do some we did some merch giveaways and we did some like exclusive behind the scenes things. And then something else that they did was like people that had these NFTs could vote on elements in the show. So we could say like in this
I remember
scene,
hearing about that part.
in this scene there's like three, like the episode we just saw, there's like those sailors that get attacked by the Kraken, so people could vote on like what sailor was gonna get hurt in which way. And it's like that's kind of cool, like, but again, like we didn't have a fan base, the show had never aired, so we were kind of like we wanted people to buy into something that didn't exist. But like for those few people that did, they did get to vote on things. We changed things in the show to reflect their votes, so it was
really wow.
Okay.
Yeah, the one person on the boat screaming "owie, owie, owie" after he didn't get hit.
That one a lot.
Perfect. I remember we were at Comic-Con 2 years ago, and we were doing security, giant air.
They were providing line security for Dan.
We were telling people keep it moving for the Crapopolis signing. And I can't remember who we asked, but we asked quite a few people. It was like, what's this about NFTs? What's this about blockchain? And the running answer was, I don't know. I just wrote it. I don't know. I'm like, okay, fair enough. So is there a reason why they focused on the chickens? Is that a bigger thing in the overall story of Crapopolis? Or is this just like an easy thing to focus on and we can just make a crap kind of stuff for chickens?
Joke.
It's like there's no money in Crapopolis. Perhaps there will be an upcoming episode where they invent money. Stay tuned. But other than that, they have like a barter system. So like in the episode we just saw where it's like, hey girlfriend, we need your shoes to pay for this food, because it's like however many sandals equal one chicken.
Oh god, yeah.
So there's like a barter system of money. So the chickens came from that.
I was like, you're right. They haven't really established anything. Like, we don't have any set thing for time. Language is still being kind of worked out, and now we don't have money. So okay, that was another thing. And kudos to the art department on this one is the attention to detail. When they flip what's her face upside down to steal her sandals, she immediately her hair falls and she immediately grabs her skirt.
Yeah,
like you could have drawn that where the skirt just stayed still. But like there was the movement, like, oh no, I gotta hold this up, and it was like a very real and fluid thing. And kudos for like a small little thing like that. You guys didn't have to do, but I thought it was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the board team puts like so many cool details in there. Yeah, I like that they're like ordering Postmates, and it's like a guy who looks like a Postmates guy, like a teenager pulls up and he's like, "Got your grilled octopus."
He's like, "Do you have change for a?" I think
can
it's
you break a chicken.
Like, yeah, can you break a chicken? He's like, does it look like I can break a chicken?
Or 9 baskets of olives.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's fun. I don't know my Greek mythology like everybody else. It all kind of stops at like Emperor's New Groove. But the different what? Oh,
Emperor's New Groove's not Greek, man.
Well, then there you go. See, I don't even know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's where it stopped. Yeah, so it didn't even get to the where it needed to be. The Circles of Hell, is that a Greek mythology? Is that first? That's my first question.
I think that's more like medieval.
Dante.
Like the Greeks,
Dante's Inferno.
Yeah, the underworld was just like, it wasn't hell. It
Hades.
wasn't punishment. It was just like, yeah, Hades is just the land of the dead. It's just where everybody goes when you die. It's not like hell. It's just the underworld. But
so is it Greek mythology?
That is Greek mythology.
Yeah.
So are we gonna? I know you said we'll see Hades, Ben Stiller, of course. Or no, that's Prometheus. Sorry. Are we gonna see those different layers? Like, is that something we'll see in the future?
We get a little hint. We will go to the underworld, and I love the designs because we wanted it to not look like basically the Christian version of hell, like fire and brimstone and red. So it looks very different. And we had to make sure, like, I'm always like looking and not looking at Disney's Hercules, because I'm like, I feel like that's like the pop culture Greek mythology we know the most. So I'm like, I need to never make it look like Disney's Hercules. You just stay away from that.
See,
Stay
in my
away.
mind, Hercules and Emperor's New Groove were the same thing. Clearly, it's not. All right, that's just me being ignorant, I suppose.
We learn every day on
I
this.
Look
think
at
your
you.
homework assignment, Mike, is to play Hades.
I
You just got to
didn't
play
jo-
Hades, Mike. That'll definitely give you a good background.
I didn't join the military because I was good in my mythologies, okay? I did it because I couldn't get into college. JB,
It's that
do
one.
you... That's one of the reasons. JB, I feel like I've been taking everything up. Do you have a question you'd like to ask?
I mean, let me think. So the biggest question I had is just like the show, like as you said, it started in like 2021. Like, how long had there been like whispers at Bento Box about the show coming?
I'm not sure. Like that's at the point where they interviewed me for art director. It was in like May of 2021. But I know like
Wow.
Pete Michaels had been like working with Dan like on these scripts. And I know that it came up with like Fox wanted to make a show with Dan Harmon because Rick and Morty is like one of the most successful cartoons of all time, and everybody wants I made the next Rick and Morty, which is really hard because Rick and Morty fans don't like anything that's not Rick and Morty. And so I'm trying to say like
usually they're
Rick and
very
Morty.
level-headed.
I know. I'm trying to say like, this
Yes,
isn't
no
Rick and
one
Morty.
has issues with that.
It's not. It's not. We're trying to be Rick and Morty, but I feel like it has a like there's a lot of like sort of hippos filling like that like role of like the scientist, the intellectual. Tyrannus is sort of like more like timid and overwhelmed, kind of like Morty, but like these characters are all totally unique.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
it still feels like I feel like the Deliria, sort of like that dysfunctional family relationship, especially Ty and Deliria, like the mom and son dysfunction, like that so totally feels like Dan Harmon. Like just like making characters that are all kind of messed up, but they're a family and they have to make it work. Like, so I know Fox had wanted to work with Dan and he'd pitched a couple things, and then like the anecdote I heard is that Michael Thorne, the president of Fox, was like, hey, remember that time when you told me you want to make a show about Greek gods? Like, do you have a pitch for that? And so it sort of came up that way. And I think that's cool because like it's coming from Dan, like he's always like been into the Greek gods. And I feel like again, like we all kind of learned about Greek mythology in school and it's very universal. Like you study it all over the world, but it's like with a twist, with like family dysfunction, Fox sitcom twist to it.
Now, one question I did have, and I am not the most astute observer of things, even though I've seen it 4 times. Like this last episode, I watched about 4 times now. Hippocampus calls Tyrannus his half-brother. I assume they were all just brother and sister, not half brother, stepbrother, whatever the case may be. Does that imply that Tyrannus has a different father? And I suppose at that point,
I'll break it down.
Break it down. Go.
I think it's on the Anadom Instagram page. There's like a family tree, but basically like they're a blended family. Like Stupendous is Deliria's daughter with a Cyclops. Hippocampus is Schlub's son with a mermaid. And Tyrannus is Schlub and Deliria's son. So they're like a blended family where they each had a kid, they got married, and then they had Tyrannus, and so
they had a kid. Okay. That makes sense.
So
and
what I'm hearing,
we will meet Stupendous' Cyclops side of the family, and we will meet Hippo's underwater side of the family in future episodes, which I think is rad.
So what I'm hearing is I should have just done my research.
It's out there. Crapopolis.com, I think, breaks it down. But that's what I think is cool. It's like modern family, blended family, and I think that's awesome.
So then that brings me to my next question, and this may be something we explore in a later episode. So if this is something, feel free to cut me off. Stupendous, born of a Cyclops and a goddess. Her eye, normally Cyclops is eye right in the center. Her eye is definitely off to the left, as if there's a normal eye. So does she just have 2 eyes, and she just wants to be a Cyclops so much? Even though
you'll see like what's under the eye patch. Like we'll go to the land of the Cyclopses at some point, and she'll try to fit in. But like, and again, like someday art book, like we did our character designer Andy did so many passes on like what does it look like under her eye patch? Is there a second eye? Is it just like a hole? Like is it caved in? But I love that she drew like a big cartoony eye with eyelashes like on the leather eye patch.
Yeah. It was weird because I was like, wait, if she's a Cyclops, why isn't it? Because, I mean, obviously, all the drawings we've ever seen, Cyclops bomb in the center. So then I'm thinking, I don't know. Well, we'll see.
Yeah,
like I said,
always.
we're going to visit the Cyclopses and we'll find that out soon.
There's so much, yeah, like there's so much to be explored in this world. It's awesome. And I'm just like, I'm holding out for some awesome cosplays at Comic-Con this year. I'm like, please someone dress like Stupendos, please.
How many episodes will we be getting in season 1?
I believe there are 13 episodes in season 1.
Okay.
Hopefully we're just gonna go straight through, so again, like we can build some audience of people that didn't catch it yet but will join us later.
Do you because obviously a lot of folks now, and I think the three of us included, don't have traditional cable, so we can only catch it either the next day or we go to a friend's house. Are you seeing the numbers, or how do you gauge, and how does the team in general gauge the overall interest in folks of the show? Yeah, the response.
I know that the 2-episode premiere that we did last week, that was like huge. That broke a bunch of records. Like I think it was like the best animated. Yeah, like if you search
like
for
launch in 10 years.
Yeah, the best launch in 10 years for Fox, but then like the best like animated primetime since the premiere of Family Guy in 1999. And
oh Jesus!
Like, yes. Years later, so yeah, so it's like they're very excited about it, and that's what's cool too. Is like I've worked on shows that the network didn't promote, so it feels awesome that like I'm seeing like interstitial ads for it on YouTube. I'm seeing ads for it on Fox. Like my family's all back in the Midwest and they watch a lot of sports, and they're like, we saw an ad for your show during football. And I'm like, okay, awesome. Like they're putting it out there. They're trying to get people on board.
That's cool.
And that's I'm glad you brought that up, because we know that Crapopolis is, and I'm not even sure what they're calling more, Fox or 20th Century or Disney or whatever they're called at this point. This is their first fully owned IP, is our understanding. So it's nice to see that they're putting like their full force behind it, putting it out there, making sure folks know about it. Is there any added pressure knowing that this is indeed their not only, but like their big property that they're giving a push behind, and like for you guys to meet some kind of expectation, or are they kind of just letting you do what you do? You know what you're doing.
I mean, we're just working. I feel like everyone at every level of like the writing, trying to make it really funny and engaging. In the art department, we're definitely like trying to make it look amazing, like make it look like featured level art on a TV budget and schedule. So yeah, we're just out here doing our best and hoping that people connect with it and like it.
How exciting and a weight off your shoulders was it when you found out that you guys were greenlit for 3 seasons right off the bat?
It's awesome because, like you were saying, like it takes time for a show to find its voice, and I think a lot of the times, like whoever's in charge is really impatient. They're like, okay, we didn't get the numbers we wanted right away. Let's kill it and make something new. And it's so hard because, like, again, like animation costs more than live action because you have to build this world from scratch. But now that we're going into season 3, it's like we have a lot of character designs, we have a lot of backgrounds, we have a lot of stuff that can be reused. So you always want to hope like, well, you get more seasons because you can reuse art, you can reuse assets, and it doesn't cost as much.
Like backgrounds and things like that. You don't have to worry about those a second time sometimes, and
exactly.
you're able to
like,
kind of use characters.
Let's go back to that place we went before. Like definitely in season 1, it was all about like how many cool things can we show the audience. There's not as much like around town type of stuff.
Right.
We're going to a lot of crazy new places, especially also in season 2. But yeah, it's exciting because it's like, oh, like they believe in us, and I hope that, you know, like I want to see those cosplays. I want to see people buying the shirts and talking about the show, and hopefully really getting into these characters because, yeah, we all have our favorites. Like I love.
I'm
Hippo.
hoping.
Like,
I want to see a Hippo cosplay bad. I think if someone nails it, it's gonna look really cool.
or schlub, like 2 people could be in there. They're not going to be friends at the end of Comic-Con after sharing that costume together.
Now, I know we're coming up on our allotted time here, but I did have one question that I should have asked much sooner. So you worked a little on Bob's Burgers in the movie and creating all the advertisements for that and doing the merch. And you mentioned you worked on other shows in the past. What was it like coming onto a show that was completely brand new? It wasn't established. You guys build it from the ground up. Was it a little intimidating, or was it like liberating to say, oh, we got full reign of this?
I was really excited. Like, yeah, like I've worked on like when I was on Over the Garden Wall, I came on at the very beginning, and it was sort of like, here's like a rough idea of what we're trying to go for. And it was like going into Pat McHale's office and seeing like he had like this inspiration board of all this like creepy like turn of the century Halloween art. And I was like, oh, like let's like absorb this vibe and then like bring it out in the artwork of the show. And so I was really excited for the opportunity. Like after I left Bob's, I did development for a while, for like a year. And it's so isolating because you're like the only person and you're trying to like sell everyone on your idea. And I was like, I want to work with the team again. Like, so I was just so excited for the opportunity to like, you know, be drunk on phenomenal cosmic power. Like, I can hire like the best people to make this show for you. And I love it. Like the team is so excited. We're like huge nerds. We're always like researching history stuff. It's just a thrill. And now that we're going into season 3 and we have like a lot of stuff under our belt, it's like I feel like we know the world and we know the characters even better. So it's awesome. I'd love to be like Bob's just cruising into season 14. That would truly be a dream. And
that is a rare feat these days. Things usually get axed. Like you said, like after 3 seasons, if they don't see what they want, they're like, get it out of there, and we'll bring in another Masked Singer show or something. So. Our producer Abby says she went to an Over the Garden Wall watch party just last week, so folks are still watching.
Hell yeah! I love that it's become like a Halloween tradition, and I know the internet was really mad because like WB doesn't understand what they have when they bought Cartoon Network, and they pulled Over the Garden Wall off HBO.
Nope.
But I heard it's coming back like the week.
It's on Hulu.
Yeah. Oh, it's on Hulu. Even better. I heard it was coming back to HBO.
Yeah, I'm on episode 7 right now, rewatching it again.
It might be coming back to Max because for a while they took a lot of Adult Swim stuff, like Metalocalypse was taken down, and that just came back on. So perhaps Over the Garden Wall.
Yeah, like I love like I make pins for it, and I sell like so many of them around this time every year because it's like, oh, there's like a chill in the air. It's time for a rewatch of Over the Garden Wall.
Apparently, I need to watch it.
So
JB
good.
says it's amazing. Abby obviously loves it. I've never seen an episode.
It's very like very dark for a children's show.
It is.
Creepy.
We had a good harvest this year. It's so good.
It's just so like Halloween, and it makes me so happy.
Okay. All right. Well, I know you gave us time, so we don't want to keep you more than we need to. Thank you very much for coming on here. We really appreciate you sitting down, answering all our silly questions, and just hanging out with us. We really appreciate it.
And I'm like, yeah, and I would love, I'll come back later in the season. We can talk about more Crapopolis because, yeah, I love nerding out about.
Yeah.
Don't say that if you don't mean it because we will not stop bothering you.
Yeah, dude. I'm so glad that you guys do this for the fans because I am also a huge Bob's Burgers fan. I know you're going to spend the rest of the episode talking about that season premiere.
Oh, we got season 14.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot going on. We have the Rudy episode next week, which is apparently a big old tearjerker.
Yeah. This season's Amelia, supposedly.
I don't know. There's a lot going on.
That's what I love. Like, again, because, like, you can pick, like, it's like The Simpsons or Bob's now, where it's like you can pick someone that's not as much a main character and you can do a whole episode with them.
That's JB, is there
It's
okay.
Me. It's the dogs.
Oh my god. Go ahead. Well, again, thank you, Miranda, so much. We absolutely loved it, and we're definitely going to have you on again when we can talk more about the future episodes, especially Prometheus, Ben Stiller. So excited about that. But North to Wharfers, on behalf of JB and myself, thank you very much, Miranda, and we will definitely be in contact and get with you next time.
Yeah, it was awesome talking to you guys.
Yes, thank you, Miranda.
Thank you so much.
Hype.
That's what we're trying to do. And
At
when
Comic-Con this summer.
when I show up at Comic-Con dressed up as I'll learn the character names by then. Don't worry.
Yeah.
The blue guy with the thing on his head.
He still messes up
Hippocampus.
Bob's character. 14
I mess up Bob's characters, and we're 14 seasons in.
It's okay.
And I've done 3
It's okay.
podcasts about the show, so we'll learn it.
Awesome.
All right. Well, thank you again, and good night.
Yeah, thank you guys. Bye.
Bye. All right. Big shout out to Miranda Dressler, of course, from Crapopolis. Amazing. Loved having her on. I could have talked to her all night, but we got Bob's to talk about as well. That's the thing, audience, is
easily
we have to balance so many things. And as much as I would love to sit down and talk with Miranda all night long, we got to talk about Bob's.
Especially because you got into the over the garden wall stuff at the very end. Like, I have so many things for that show.
Oh, well, the great thing,
really dark.
The great thing is she had mentioned it earlier when you weren't here.
Oh, I know. I had a feeling she did.
She did. All right, everybody.
So, yeah.
So again, if you haven't already, go on Hulu. You can catch the first 3 episodes of Crapopolis now. It is a great show. It seems to be. It's only gotten better with every episode.
I agree.
So far, my favorite episode has been episode 2, but that's not to say 3 and 1 aren't great as well. So go check those out. JB,
Yes.
Before we get any further, would you like to do our ad-sponsored read?
I would. Let me get our sponsor's message for our listeners out here.
Yes. This is good. I think the halfway point of the show is a good spot for our ad read.
All right. Let me see here. All right, so tonight's episode, we're going to have a sponsor for you. We'd like to give some special thanks to them. So, tonight's episode of From the Great North to Wonder Wharf is brought to you by PETA.
I believe it's pronounced FITA.
FITA. So, let me go ahead and get our ad for them. So we wrote a nice little ad for them. Tonight's episode is From the Great North to Wonder Wharf. It's brought to you by PETA. Like PETA, but longer. Thank you, PETA, for your support for tonight's episode and future episodes of the show.
What's that? Already? Really? All right, folks. Well, it turns out FITA is out of business. So, sorry, animals. Go be homeless and find somewhere else to stay because they are no longer there for you. Who knows? Maybe next week's sponsor will be a little more successful than FITA.
Yeah. Maybe Gloves, actually, or...
That's a shame.
Maybe Exterminator of some sorts.
We cashed a check, right?
Yeah, we cashed it.
We got a check? Okay, cool.
There's no refund.
I'm not giving the money back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not.
It's not happening.
Okay. All right. Okay.
When they're out of business,
all right.
I don't think there's anywhere for them to get it back.
Yeah, what are they going to do? They can't get us. They're going to pay us in puppies. Get out of my face. Season 14, Bob's Burgers.
It was a solid start. I told you it was.
There's a lot to discuss. Full disclosure, JB got to see the premiere back in Comic-Con. He got all the fun little things. He knew Marshmallow was going to be there.
I did know. I couldn't say a word.
Now,
there's a big disclaimer in front of the whole thing, and I was like, oh no.
Explain that part to the audience before we get into the episode.
Okay.
What was the Comic-Con viewing experience like?
Okay. So, guys, when you go to Comic-Con and you see a panel, of course, when you first get there, they pack you in like sardines. So sometimes you have to go to like the panel before to see the show you want to see. For us, we got into Solar Opposites, and that was to get into the Great Norths. And then from there, you had to sit there to see Bob's. Because everyone's like, if you don't get into Bob's, like, early, you're not getting in. There's not enough seats. It'll fill in. And it did. And that room is massive. It's like 3 conference rooms back to back to back. Solar Opposites went back 2, and then they opened the door for the 3rd for Great North and Bob's. It was insane. But right before they show the episode, and they brought out Bernard Derriman to do the introduction of who directed the episode. Right before that, they had a big disclaimer, and it just said, like, there will be no videotaping, no audio recording, no texting, no pictures, no nothing, no phones out whatsoever. I brought my phone out just to send Mike a message, and a security man approached me and was just like, "Put your phone away." I was like, "Okay." So
Yeah,
sorry.
I don't
I was
know
like,
why
"I'm just
he
texting my
punched you,
friend.
but
I'm at
I
the
thought that was
premiere."
weird. Yeah.
All I did was text him. I think I said, like, "Hey, Mike, we're here," and he was just like, he even looked at my phone to check it to make sure I hadn't sent anything. I was like, "Okay."
That was such a
They are
fucking stressful day for me in particular because I was trying to help run everything without being there, and nobody would answer my texts.
Yes, you were.
But go
It
on.
was
Sorry.
real hectic, dude. It was. Brooke came in and was like, "It's too warm. We're going inside." And bless her for doing that because it was such a better turnout. But I know some people missed out, so this year we'll definitely be more ahead of the curve when it comes to locations.
Okay, so you get there.
But the
So sorry,
premiere
national
was
security
very
shut
cool.
you down. What was that like?
Oh, and well, they didn't shut us down per se. What they really did is they mostly just loomed for quite some time. And it's just like people dressed up as like Gale and stuff, where I guess upsetting them. And they were just like, "How long are you staying here? When are you leaving?" Like, "We'll be done in a little bit." I'm like,
Oh,
"We
but I
weren't
mean
causing any
the
problems or anything."
the premiere.
Oh, for the premiere?
Yeah.
So for the premiere episode, that was when Bernard came out, introduced it. They went right into it. I know I told you I thought there was an opening, like an opening credit. There wasn't. They just kept playing the credits over and over again, so that was my bad.
That's it.
But
what was the
from the
reaction
moment
like?
It started to
What was the reaction like
there?
when Marshmallow came back on?
Dude, it was insane. The amount of applause and screams and yells that came on for Marshmallow, and then there was like a bunch of people yelled from the back, "Hey, Marshmallow," and like everyone just laughed. You could see the Bob's people. We were in the front row, and to the right of us were the Bob's people that we had talked to earlier before it started, and you could see them literally like giving the thumbs up and like laughing and like cheering when that Marshmallow came on, because like, okay, it hit. Everyone loved it.
Mm-hmm.
It was a huge, I think, big deal for them because they've been wanting to nail that and get Marshmallow back.
Were you able to properly hear Jari's voice over what I assume is a thunderous applause?
Yes.
Okay, good.
It was blasting. And then like in the panel room, like there's like 6 TVs, like huge projectors. And then it goes like 1, 2, and it just staggers back like stadium seating.
Okay.
And there's just speakers everywhere.
Nice.
So even over the applause, you can still really hear it. It's just amped up.
All right. Well,
But it was nuts.
Let's get into. Hold on. Let's want to go over some of these things here. Chat here. I can't figure out how much longer. This is from Chelsea's. I want to say my bit about the season premiere first. I was mad at the kids, but then I thought, well, they do work every single day, which sucks for anyone, but especially a child. Linda talking about having to light up her dad to back me up. Hearing Marshmallow was
Tina.
great.
Mostly Tina.
All right, Chelsea's. If you're still here, thank you so much. If not, catch us on the replay. Let's see some of the other. Bob, this is coming from Yahoo. Bob's this week starts off. The new season was good, despite the whole Linda only wanted what's best for the kids thing. It was good. The animation and visuals look great. Looking at a medium here. I don't know if I'd say a medium, but I mean, to each their own, of course. The hype is really building for next week's episode. I would say so. At least within our own community here. Is it bigger than Taylor Swift? Absolutely not. Not even kind of. Not even kind of.
But I mean, within the community, though, if you just even Google Bob's season 14 reviews, like for the 2 episodes that the reviewers have seen, which is this one and next week's Rudy episode, I mean, Wendy posted like A- from AV Club. Like, people are really digging season 14 already.
Let's see.
So it's exciting.
Homer fan, you're kind of surprised that Bernard was the director for the premiere. Why is that? He's their go-to guy. It's either him or Simon. Usually get those heavy episodes like that.
Mm-hmm. So I think when I talked to Bernard, I brought up like this episode seemed a bit more animation-wise, like the wide shots and things like that they were using, the detailed work, the shadows. I was like, is this like movie quality animation a little bit? And he's like, it's sprinkled throughout. I mean, he directed the movie, so I think if they wanted a more developed thing, they're going to have him or Simon do it.
There were some stills, especially the Dances with Wolves is what I'm calling it. Those stills. Those seemed like straight out of a movie. Those were fantastic. Yeah. The shadows, especially in the scene where they were talking to Zeke and Jimmy Jr. at the table, the shadows, they seemed awkward because they were cutting at like half face, but then you realize, oh, that's how it would sit if they were wearing those hats and the light was hitting in that way. So they stayed true to the character, so the lighting. So good on them for that.
Mm-hmm. I think the big moments too, like that I noticed movie quality stuff was like the big pan shot when Pepperoni walks into the town and it pans up and they're like Westerville. Like that's totally movie quality with the mountains and the sky. Like that was a huge like pan shot. And also the detail of going from full screen, full episode, normal aspect ratio to Western widescreen. Nice touch.
There was one shot in particular that I don't know why I was so impressed with it. Maybe because of the vastness of it all. But when Zeke and Jimmy brought Bob and Linda out to the middle of nowhere, and it was just desert, wide open skies, and the characters were like this small because they wanted to show the
how vast it was.
Yeah, how vast it was. I thought that was a really great shot. They could have shot that tight. They could have done anything else, but they did that, and I thought that was perfect.
They even did the standard Western like side holster shot for Louise with the pea shooter, the beans. Like they did a lot of like definite homages to Westerns. Like they nailed those shots.
So what did you think of the story in general?
So Nora wrote this one, and Nora also helped write some of the other tearjerker season and the big episodes. I think the message is something like every kind of parent deals with is like, I kind of want them to do chores. It's not to like for allowance or thing, but just like to help out the house and to like build responsibility. And I think Linda's message is pretty good. Her delivery, of course, is Linda. She just thought it would be like an easy conversation, not thinking Louise would be like, nope, not doing it. And I think it's nice to that Louise even addressed like she was putting Linda and Bob in the bubble of all the other adults, telling her what she can and cannot do. And her realizing that at the end and being like, I kind of took out some of that on you. And that wasn't fair. I think they had a really good, again, Louise and Linda are having some really good moments.
There's, I think this is a classic case of Louise bringing her work home. Yes. Like you know, like when something bad happens at work, you should leave it at work. You shouldn't bring it home. Her run-in with LeBons, like Linda wasn't her problem, but she was now the face of the problem that she was still having with LeBons. So I don't think Louise doesn't hate Linda. It's just Linda caught her at the wrong time. I thought the story was solid. I really liked it. I was never a big Western guy, but I do enjoy that kind of story. I loved the running gag of fish odor or gold odor, as it were, saying, "Yeah, I meant to shoot that rock." With his pea shooter. Yeah, that's the one I
just didn't want to tell you I was aiming for that one.
Yeah. I thought that was fun. I felt the tease of Big G was anticlimactic. I just don't think Gloria is that strong enough a character for people to be like, ooh. I was
almost hoping for Gail a little bit. I thought Gail would have been funny with Mr. Business, like in her arms, just being hello. Mr. Money Rich, and like have just like some guy being her rich husband, but like it was fine.
I would have liked that better. Or if that's how we were introduced to the new Marshmallow, But then I
Yeah,
don't
that could be
think
fun,
Gold
too.
Odor and Marshmallow have that kind of relationship to where people would be intimidated by her and whatnot. Everyone and their mother knew that it was Gloria the moment Linda mentioned earlier in the episode. You know, yeah. On to the
I
issue
also
of
wanted,
Marshmallow. Oh.
and this is just for me, I
Mhm.
really wanted
good.
Roller Skate Guy to roll through just once in the Western scene in roller skates and just be like, these haven't even been invented yet. And then roll by and just be like, just to make it fun. But it was already fun, so it just been extra fun.
One thing we didn't get, or another thing we didn't get, is no Teddy. Larry Murphy was in the episode.
No Teddy this
We didn't
one.
get Teddy. Teddy, of course, for the life of me, I can't remember who he voiced. Was it Gloria? No.
Yeah, Gloria.
Either Gloria. Okay, so Larry Murphy was there, but no Teddy. We got Rudy. We got Zeke and Jimmy Jr. We got Edith. And of course, we got Marshmallow. On to Marshmallow. What are your opinions on the new voice?
I'm all in. I think it's great. I love that Jari's doing it. I like where it's at. I think it's fine. I know there's some people that have their opinion about it, and that's great that you have an opinion about it. But at the same time, David Herman stepped away from it and said, I want someone to do it who's different and who's the person who's supposed to do it. And I think they found that person. It's perfect.
Well said.
It's not, as you said, it's not LB as Mickey. So I think it's fine.
That was going to be... So, am I happy Marshmallow's back? Absolutely. Do I think Jari's going to do a phenomenal version of Marshmallow and make it all her own? Absolutely. I have no doubt about that. Lauren and the entire team know what's at stake with this, and they're not going to shoot themselves in the foot. The two lines that Marshmallow did have, it is very obvious that it is a new actor voicing the character. It's not as jarring as like LB doing Mickey, Lauren Bashar doing Mickey. I would say it's on par with the new actor that's doing Mickey.
Yes, that was
voicing
drastic.
Mickey. Well, yeah, Lauren Bashar doing Mickey was drastic. The guy that they got for the movie to do Mickey, why are we moving, JB? You cannot move and think your internet's going to work. All right, he's gone until you can get that figured out. And it's not even an issue that I have with Jari. Not at all. I don't want that to come off this way. It's not as drastic as Lauren Bashar doing Mickey's voice. It is on par with the new actor doing Mickey's voice that we heard for the first time. And I'm glad you brought that up, Abby. Hold on. Are we back? Are we back? Okay. Where was I? Oh, Abby. Okay, yes. Jari did a phenomenal job. She did a phenomenal job. I will never take that away from her. I'm so used to hearing one version of Marshmallow that it will take some getting used to. It will. It is what it is. Is it bad? Not even kind of bad. It's phenomenal. It's great. I'm just so used to hearing one thing. So like I said, I liken it to the Mickey in the movie and Bill Hader, which I thought that person did a phenomenal job of stepping in for Mickey. Phenomenal. I think Jari's going to do a phenomenal job as Marshmallow as well. Just going to take a little getting used to on my end. That's all that is. Are we here? JB? 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 Can you say anything? Anything? Okay, I can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Stupid.
There we go.
It's because of the charging cable. I guess the iPhone is confused and thinks I'm using my headphones, but I'm charging my phone. That's good. Good to know.
Are we good now? Okay, good to go. All in all, I thought the episode was good. It was a little weird that they didn't have an opening title sequence for the very first episode of the season. That was a little weird. JB?
Yeah, that threw everybody through quite the loop.
Are you good over there?
Yeah, I'm good. I haven't moved.
No, yeah, you're right. Your picture has not moved. You're right. I wonder who else wrote one of the
This is insane.
Well, they have a lot of writers, Homer. They bring in tons of writers every season. So as far as who's directing or who's writing, there's a bunch of different people. I'm sure Simon will get his run of episodes like he always does. The Molyneux sisters will write a bunch of episodes like they always do, and Bernard will get his handful of episodes too.
All right, we are back in the same spot.
I'm just waiting for your video to start moving again. There we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. So yeah, beginning of season 14, solid. It's weird that we're getting two very emotionally, well, I wouldn't say this one's emotionally heavy, but we're getting two emotionally driven episodes back to back this early in the season. Obviously, next week we have The Amazing Rudy, which is a story about Rudy going to dinner with his mom and his dad and their partners. And it seems like the Belchers are making the dinner and hosting the dinner at the same time. I don't know. What do you think Rudy is going to be doing for this episode? Because, I mean, obviously his parents have been separated for a while.
Yeah.
Do you think he's trying to parent trap them and trying to get them back together? Because honestly, I can't think of any other story that would provide an emotional gut punch than him trying to get his parents back together and them saying, hey, that's not going to happen.
There could be that.
Because again, his parents have been divorced for, I don't know, 14 seasons at this point.
At this point, yeah.
It didn't just happen.
I mean, they have separate places, so
they have separate everything. He's not going to be shocked that they're not together. But like, why is it? Because again, we had Drew on our Instagram say that this was an emotional episode for him. It made him cry. He's a child of a divorced family. Maggie chimed in as well and said this is a roller coaster episode for everybody. It's going to make you cry. So beyond him trying to get his parents back together, what else could deliver that? Oh, I feel for you, Rudy, kind of thing.
So either I would take it as Rudy's. Maybe it's not the idea that he thought his parents would ever get together, but it's the idea that his parents would actually move on and marry or get married as other people. So maybe he it's that deep down wanting the parents to get back together or nothing to change, to stay the same. I also wonder if maybe one of the parent couples, probably mom, because we haven't met mom, if she's going to move away with her partner.
Yeah. Now that you had mentioned that, I was like, yeah, the only thing could be like somebody's moving. But your theory on one of them getting married that could be true as well, because until they get married again, there's always that lingering possibility. It's like, oh, they could still, maybe it could happen, but like potentially like marriage is kind of like that final nail in the coffin and says, hey, no, we're done. We're not. Sorry, Rudy, but that just ain't happening.
There also is the idea too of just like for the kids, sometimes it's like that my parent is my thing, they're my person. now there's someone else who's that person. I'm not their only person anymore. And that can be kind of hard for some kids to manage. But I don't know. I feel for Rudy, it's got to be like a big change is happening.
Yeah.
And he's trying to like keep it together, and it's just not happening.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's either marriage and move away or marriage. Like, now that we've talked about it, I don't feel like Rudy trying to get his parents back together is what's going to happen. Because, again, they've been separated for 14 seasons, however long that is in the Belcher universe. So this ain't new to him. And the only thing that would change is his mom getting married and moving away. Let's see. And if I had to choose one or the other, I would definitely think his mom's getting remarried. Maybe.
Hopefully, so here's another idea. I hope it's not this, because this would be really heavy. But maybe that's why I checked the box for Drew, is asking Rudy who he wants to live with.
Ooh.
That's a tough question for a kid to answer, especially if he likes both parents.
Yeah. I wasn't even going there. Like, my thought was his mom's going to get remarried. She wants him to be part of the wedding, like walking down the aisle or XYZ, whatever the case may be. And he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want her to get married. He doesn't want anything to change. If he can't have his parents together, he wants to keep things as they are now. But I don't know if they present him with that option, like to like choose whichever parent you want to live with, if one was going to move away.
Well, that might be also the option too. It's like, do you want to move away and change schools? Do you want to come with me? Do you want to stay with your dad? I think that is super complicated for a kid. I worry that might be it. Because I do agree with Abby. That's why both sets of parents would be there. It's to like have that discussion and how uncomfortable that would be for him. I mean, he's such a reserved little guy, and he only gets super emotional. He didn't have his finger puppets at his birthday party, and this is like, I do worry though that he doesn't know this is coming, and it's just kind of blindsides him a little bit, and he's just like, oh, and like he just shuts down.
Yeah, Abby's right here. If it's an engagement announcement, why would you bring your ex? That makes sense.
I think it's a custody thing.
Yeah, it could be. It's like, hey, do you want to... Me and Jimmy, you're going to get married. Do you want to come live with us? Because I'm not staying in town. Let's see.
You have to change schools, get new friends.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, I don't want to let that parent down because I love them, but at the same time, I don't want to move.
Yeah.
But I'm not picking like staying just at dad's because dad's here. I also want to see you. That could be a lot.
I think that's why the Belchers play such a big role in this episode too. Like, not only are they cooking, but
they might be mediators.
That, or like, that'll help push Rudy to his ultimate decision. Is like, I have my family here. I live with my dad. I have my friends here. Other than my mom, this is my world.
Because I mean, Rudy is kind of the unofficial other Belcher. Like, Teddy is like the adult other Belcher, but like Rudy's always there. Like with the Thanksgiving episode, he's there. He's like, in all these little moments, Rudy has kind of been there.
Sorry, I'm going through some of the comments here. Yeah, Homer, we have those photos up on our Instagram page there. Looks like the Mullen sisters must have... the Mullen sisters usually knock it out of the park, and apparently Brian Husky brought his A game to this one. And
he's going to play Rudy and his dad, so...
Oh, yeah, he's going to do both. Let's see. Yahoo says, hopefully we'll get something out of the episode, like what caused the fallout between Rudy's parents. I don't think we'll get that. I think we'll get that heavy into it.
Yeah, from a writer's standpoint, you want the content to apply to the most viewers, so you're not going to give a distinct answer. You're going to leave it open to the viewers' interpretations.
Yeah,
that way it applies to them more, and it's a little more like they can make it their own.
Let's be honest. We know Rudy's dad. It's not going to be anything salacious like, oh, she was cheating on him with X, Y, and Z. It's just, I think that relationship just ran its course. Knowing Rudy's dad,
I think it just kind of fizzled.
it just fizzled. He was a pushover. It's just that's not what she wanted.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get like a Teddy and Denise. I don't think it's anything like that. Because they're still on good terms. Like Rudy still goes over to his mom's.
Yeah.
They seem cordial. Like it doesn't seem like a big thing.
It's definitely going to be. It's definitely going to be something big. Not that what broke him up, but like his mom's going to have a full episode because they've hired a voice actor for her. So it's not like a Ginger thing where we're going to see the back of her head and she ain't going to have any lines. We're going to get a full impactful story there. Homer says, I guess Rudy's still going to do a magic trick somewhere in The Amazing Rudy until it ends up. What do we know about a magic trick? Why is that not ringing any bells for me?
He was in the Magician episode.
Oh, no, I know he was, but how do we know he's doing a magic trick in this next episode?
I don't think so. I don't think we're going to. I think The Amazing Rudy, I think, actually might be really discussing like Rudy's resilience. That through it all, Rudy is still amazing and able to kind of maintain and move on and go.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Still, that's what makes him amazing. However average he is, don't think this episode is going to show he's not that average. He's actually a pretty important person.
Oh yeah, we're peeling back those layers. We're gonna see a side of Rudy we haven't seen before. And those photos that we've seen for the promo stuff, Rudy has a lot of
going on with Rudy's face.
Yeah, there's a lot of hurt on that face. So I am excited and cautiously excited for the episode. Not because I think it's gonna be bad, but like I don't need to cry. Like I've already listened to Blink 182's One More Time for 2 weeks now, crying every time I heard it. I don't need another one now. Homer says, I'm thinking that Gretchen and maybe Gail might probably appear in the Pickalorian again. Why? What's leading you to believe that? We haven't seen them in a while. We haven't seen Jimmy Pesto in a while either. Doesn't mean he's going to show up. If your guesses are just guesses, then write that because you're coming off like you have a source. And if you have a source, let us know. But if they're just guesses, then clarify that as well. Because I keep thinking that you're coming with something that we don't know about. But yeah, I think we're in for a doozy next week, and I'm here for it.
I am too. I think it's going to be. I mean, if they play their cards right, this could be a good Emmy winner.
Oh, it's the second episode of the season 2.
I know. It's a lot of pressure to put on it, but if it's that subject matter and it hits that well.
It makes me wonder why this early in the season. Was this originally supposed to be shown at another time and then got bumped?
It could have been, yeah. I mean,
it could have been.
It could have been an episode that was meant for later, but maybe they needed more time to do other things or due to football. They needed to have the ability to do like maybe a Halloween or a holiday episode, so that Rudy's got pushed to now.
Hey, football's big and it brings in the money. Sorry, I'm trying to look at some stuff here. Okay. All right. Well, I know it's getting late, so let's wrap this up now. And yeah, is there anything you'd like to discuss before we call it a night?
Not particularly. Apologize again to all you guys for Mages and Monsters. Just some stuff came up with my son, so we took a step back, and Mike was gracious enough to be like, we probably should just take a step back and allow you some space. So I'm using that space to kind of just deal with the problem. Well, it's not a problem, just trying to figure out how best to manage it, what I can do for him to help him out, and get him what he needs.
The season ain't gonna hold any punches. About to be 2 episodes. Yeah. All right. Patreon. We have a Patreon. If you'd like to support us, it's $3 a month. All that what that does is you get a shout out at the end of the episode, and it helps keep the light on here. You don't have to support us. There's no obligation to do so. The content that we provide will not change. It's not going to get any better. I'll tell you that much.
No.
No, this is what you get. So, sucks for you. But if you'd like to, the link is in our bio. Like I said, $3 a month, no obligation to. If you can, cool. If you can't, no harm, no foul. I'd like to give a shout out to our Patreon members, which I just checked. And this is hilarious to me. And I want to preface this by saying I'm not mad about what I'm about to say. I am not mad. I'm not upset. I think it's hilarious. Go with God. We have 2 Patreon members now. I don't know who, so I'm going to give all 3 a shout out. We got Chelsons, we got Nick, and we got Mari. So 2 of you, thumbs up. The 3rd one, shame. We'll find you. We'll take your money.
No more.
But no, seriously, no harm, no foul. If it ain't for you, it ain't for you. No big deal. We will be back next week. No special guest as of right now. Discussing episode 2 of Bob's Burgers and episode 4 of The Great North. Which we didn't even cover The Great North, potentially coming back in January.
Back in January, guys.
Tune in next week because we have some theories on Crapopolis and The Great North and how they kind of work hand in hand with each other. That's a teaser. There you go. So until next time, this has been From the Great North to Wonder Wharf, your one-stop destination for bento box information. As always, I am Mike.
And I'm JB.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.